Folks, we are just 48 hours away from opening kickoff to the National Football League 2020 season. This is your opening line show right here on sportsbookreview.com, your home for all NFL action. We are finally here. I'm Donnie Seymour, he's Kyle Purviance, and we are going to guide the ship all the way from now right through to the Super Bowl, providing the best information you could possibly get, picking winners, going over DFS information, and having a lot of fun doing it. Now, before I introduce Kyle here, which you've already seen him around the channels, let's set up the show structure of what we anticipate to be a fantastic 2020 NFL season. The Tuesday show, which is today, we're going to do the opening lines where we dip into this weekend's action and get that first fresh look to see where the lines are opening at, what we might anticipate throughout the regular season. Now, Thursdays, we're going to hone in. We're going to pick best bets. We're going to sharpen our sword and get ready. Now, the best part about this also is Sunday again. This will be my fourth year going into it with the NFL pregame show, closing lines. And then guess what, Kyle? On Mondays, we go live for NFL football. Hang out with us. This is your place to be on sportsbookreview.com. And without any further ado, you guys have seen me around. Kyle Purviance at DFS Bachelor. He is my right-hand man for the NFL season. Kyle, I'm excited and I'm ready to go, man.
Oh, me too. And I'm excited too because I'm so lucky I get the best voice in sports radio to clean up all my messes all the time.
Yes.
So I get to be here. I make a ton of stupid jokes. That's definitely going to happen.
I will laugh at them.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate that. I tell everyone to lie to me and just pretend I'm funny. That makes me feel good about myself. Tell me I look young. I love getting carded at the store and everything else. But no, I'm really excited. This is a new venture for me. As you know, I mostly have been in the DFS world. Now, I've been a sports bettor since I was, especially the NFL, since I was 9 years old. You might remember back in the day, it was called Sports Action. I don't know if they had that out where you were at, but you could go into the gas station and you could buy it looked like a lottery ticket, and you could make your picks. And my dad used to call all of his friends over, and then they'd wake me up at like 11 o'clock at night once my mom went to bed and say, "Hey, get up and tell us who's going to win," because this has been my life since, 1989. A long, long time. I'm still 25. I'm 25.
What are you still working on, like, an AIM chat out there? You doing a little AOL, like dial-up out there? Is that what you got going on?
Damn, they didn't even have that back then. We had to get all of our scoring from, our fantasy commissioners had to call us into the little local rec area, and they had to give us a printout of all the scoring, if you remember back then. My first ever fantasy pick ever was fantasy baseball. I was 9 years old, and I picked Cal Ripken in his NBA or his MVP season. My number 2 pick was Brett Butler. I remember Mark Gubizar kind of ruined me that year. But we're diving in too much to what makes me old. But it's really exciting. A lot of you coming over from my channel know me as DFS Bachelor. We cover daily fantasy over there on YouTube as well. And we're going to answer all those questions. Football betting. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. And you mentioned that Monday show. Gosh, this coming Monday, we're going to be out here for 6-7 hours. So you might see us in rare form, especially, that's way past Donnie RightSide's bedtime.
Yeah, so, no kidding. But yeah, I will be rested and ready for these shows in here. But the great thing about this also is this season, which again will be my 4th season doing the NFL with sportsbookreview.com. It's my passion. I love the NFL. I love to talk the NFL, and we're going to have a great time during the season. But it's nice because I've had a lot of co-hosts here, and they've all been wonderful. But we've never had an aspect of bringing into fantasy football as well as the sports gambling side. It's nice on a Sunday say, "Hey, Kyle, I got a 3rd-string running back, or I'm looking to go with my running back number 2. Do you take this guy over this guy?" We're going to incorporate all that stuff to go together, and it will be nice to go on the Monday Night Football shows and just have a nice sit back. We're going to have a lot of guests that's going to come through here. Obviously, we're going to be betting the game as it is live, talking about what happened in yesterday's games, how it sets up with the opening lines moving forward. It's all set up for us. And also keep in mind, everything that goes on with sportsbookreview.com, it's set to go here in September. Flash and the boys got the EPL show that's kicking off shortly. We also have Chris and Gary doing college football, myself and Kyle doing the National Football League, Jay Money and the boys Junior Brown and also Jordan Sharp doing the NBA show. So there's a lot of stuff going on myself, and also still pulling double duty here, Kyle. How about that? Doing a Major League Baseball show with Jason. Yeah. It's been a lot of fun, but this is going to be your home at sportsbookreview.com. Right below, you'll see the web SBRpicks.com/NFL. Just hit that link, and I always ask you guys, thanks for tuning in, whether you're watching live or you're watching on the replay. Hit the subscribe button, turn the notifications on. 67,200 people now have officially done that. So it seems like each day we're picking up at least 100 new subscribers, which is fantastic. Thank you guys for chiming into the chat box. We'll be here to answer your questions every time we go live. And I like to say this on every show I do on sportsreview.com. It doesn't matter when the show ends. You can always reach out to Kyle on Twitter at DFS Bachelor, same as myself at RightSide DP, to answer any questions that you have. But also, you know what we're doing this year, Kyle, which I'm logged in, I'm ready to go. And last year I must have been an easy mark because the 6 that I kept picking were not the 6 I should have been picking in the Pick 6 contest. $50,000 worth of cash prizes all season long. You see the videos come out there. It's free to get in. Weekly prizes, prize at the end of the year. Battle us. You want to take down Kyle? Take him down. You want to take me down? Take me down and talk smack to me each and every time. The Pick 6 contest, Kyle, going to be a lot of fun to do with you this year.
Oh, I cannot wait. And one really cool thing I want to mention about that is you can win even more in prizes by becoming an SBR Pro. And how you do that, it's not some greedy money grab. It's, hey, donate to charity, right?
Yeah.
Donate to a good cause. You can become an SBR Pro. You can write it off at tax season, which, you know, trust me, when you work for yourself and do stuff like this, you need every damn write-off you can get, right? So I think it's a really good thing. You pick from a great list of charities, you donate to them, you become an SBR Pro, and even increase your chances of winning bigger prizes. I'm really excited for the SBR Pick 6 contest, and you got it's open right now, and you want to make sure you do that before Thursday night. Otherwise, you're already hurting yourself. If you have a strong belief in the Chiefs or the Texans, however you decide you want to go there, and we're going to certainly talk about that not only today but on Thursday. It's a great way to go. It's all for great causes. Who doesn't want to get behind good causes and good people? And I have jokes for that on my other channel. And
but I don't like good causes or good people, so maybe.
Yeah, I mean, screw them all, right? Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. But I think it's really cool. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, for those of you, I mean, we get it all the time in this industry. It's like, hey, you got what the hell you're talking about. Well, get into the Pick 6 and show us that you know more than we do. And you never know. Maybe in a year or two, you find yourself sitting in the seat that we're sitting in.
Maybe you take Kyle's spot here, and I'll have another person next year in the end. Maybe it's me that's the issue. Going to my 4th year, I guess. It's like maybe it's me the one that's really hard to work with. But set up, guys. It's nice to get this little preamble out here in the first 10 minutes because information on top of information on top of information is coming, and we go as hard as the chat box wants to go. So any questions that you have, pop in live. But we're going to be doing this all football season long, right up to when me and Kyle will be live during the Super Bowl and saying, "Oh my goodness, we're going to have to wait another 6 months to get football back. We made it through COVID. We made it through the crisis. We're here to talk some NFL football, and let's get after it here." And one of my favorite things to do during the season, which I wish we can erase all the tapes that we currently have, because at the end of the year, but Donnie, can't even believe you made that play. The predictions that are sure to go wrong here, and I like to take some leap of faith, and I'm going to start right here because we go over good and bad, just basically with teams, or even you could pick, players, whatever. But the team I have, I'm going to start for good. The team I have that's going to sneak into the playoffs that most people don't think is going to sneak into your, Kyle, you know who that is? That's those Carolina Panthers.
Oh, my God, I love it.
Grabbing a late seed to get into the playoffs. That's my sure prediction to go wrong, which means they'll probably end up 5-11. But I'm taking a leap on the Carolina Panthers to sneak into the playoffs with a first-year head coach and a pandemic where he wasn't even able to coach in the spring. That's where I'm going. Give me a prediction from you, a good prediction, saying this team, this player, he's going to do well this year, with a prediction that obviously is sure to go wrong, Kyle.
Well, first of all, how dare you? Because, just to let you behind the curtain of the show, Donnie does a great job setting this all up for us. And we don't know what the other person's going to say, right? Mm-hmm. So we just have a thing like, hey, who's going to be surprisingly good or bad? And the first team in my mind was the Carolina Panthers. So Donnie comes out right away, out of the gate, and smacks me right in the face, and I freaking love it.
So should I skip this segment?
No, absolutely not. I will pivot because I have one more. I do have one more team who I think will be surprisingly good. And I think it's the LA Chargers. I think that they're well coached. I love that defense.
Sort of a forgotten team out there, right?
Sort of a forgotten team. The fans don't love them. No one's big on Tyrod Taylor. But I'm telling you, if those pass rushers on the edge, if Bosa and Ingram can stay healthy, that defense is mean. I think the way you're probably going to see bigger numbers from Tyrod Taylor than in normal years because it's not going to be a strong running team. They're going to be throwing these short little screen passes out to Eckler. He's a workout monster. So I think the LA Chargers could be a sneaky team as well out there in the AFC West and grab themselves a playoff spot. But good on you for taking my Carolina Panthers. That just means I talked you into it our last video. That's how.
Yeah, I was trying to. Yeah, exactly. I was trying to get a feel for you there to see how I can steal your thunder day one and just continually pick what you were going to say. Like, man, this Kyle, he doesn't even know what he's talking about. How do you even get on the show with Donnie over here? So my plan is working out exactly here for us, right? Vitalis in the chat box, good friend of the show. My prediction will be the Washington football team will have fans in the stands. That's my prediction. That will go wrong. So yeah, I don't know who's going to want to actually pay if they even let people in the stands for the Washington football team, but we'll see what happens in that. Now, so we did the good. Now let's do the bad in this. One of the teams that I had picked out here that, look, I love this quarterback. He's in your neck of the woods. It almost seems like it doesn't matter who surrounds this guy. He's in the playoffs every single year. But for a prediction that's sure to go wrong, you know who's missing the playoffs out there in the NFC West up north? Those Seattle Seahawks with no crowd at home, no home advantage. Russ has to do it. How many years can he do it himself? He's got all the money in the bank in the world. He's got Sierra. He's got kids at home. He's ready to move on with his career, even though he's not ready to move on with his career. But my prediction that's sure to go wrong, those Seattle Seahawks crash and land this year and sit out the playoffs here.
Wow, I think I do think there's one guy that should scare you. That's DK Metcalf. That guy looks like a sort of crazy generational talent that Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones wise. For me, the team, and trust me, I already know I'm going to get hate from Patriots fans and from Buccaneers fans.
There are no Patriots fans anymore. There's no more Patriot fans, so don't worry about it.
There's the Tom Brady homers, trust me. I said something bad about Tom Brady a couple years ago, and the things that were said to me should never be repeated ever. It's the things you see on the ID channel. I'm not joking. Yeah. But I do think the team that I think misses the playoffs and is not as good as people think they're going to be, as much as they want them to be, as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think the Bucs miss the playoffs. I think they go under their win total. I think that offense actually somehow, even though your quarterback turned the ball over 35 times last year, I think their offense sees a regression. It's going to be less vertical, less exciting. They're not going to be able to come back from these deficits that they find themselves in, because even though they're fantastic up front at stopping the run, they are super leaky, if that's even the right way to say things, in the secondary. Sure. Yeah, you could say that. And I think it's a division that can throw the football. I think it's a conference that can throw the football. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers finish at 7 wins and miss the playoffs.
I like it, and I would love if that happened. And as I said, we always joke about like, hey, when LeBron moves on, his fans move on with the team. So the New England Patriots fans who probably they would always tell you like, but we live in Boston. It's a baseball town, Tommy. Well, Tommy's gone now, so now it's back to a baseball town. Probably going to slide on those Chiefs caps up there. I don't know, maybe a Giants cap from those teams up in New England. So we'll see how they fare with New England without Tom Brady for the past 20 years. Now, let's get to some of the leaders that we think are going to take place here in the NFL, whether it be rushing. And I listed it here as well, league leaders in passing, which would be not touchdown passes, but just, yards. Same thing with league leaders in rushing, and as well as the leading receiver, not specifically like reception-wise. We'll just go with yards. So I'm going to start with this. My league leader in passing, I like to take a shot on this because, hey, I'm going to Patrick Mahomes, and, we'll just slide with that. But I think I have a good look on this one. And it doesn't have anything to do with their defensive team, because I don't think the defense is going to be all that great. This team is in a conference, or should I say in a division that should put up points. And I think this team is going to be down a lot and playing in a dome. I'm going to go with Matt Ryan at plus 800 to lead the NFL in passing yardage if he stays healthy. And again, doesn't mean they can go 12-4 or whatever the record. It doesn't matter. I look at that division, a good weather division, where if you're going to keep up, you better be in the 30s each and every game, which means you better be airing it out. I'm going to take a shot there at an 8-1 with going with Matt Ryan. Now, you're a league-leading passer for the season, Kyle. Who are you looking at?
Well, I love that, and I'm bummed that I closed out the window that I had the prop odds for the passing leader, so I can't give you the exact numbers as I typically would love to do. But I do have some sneaky plays. If you look at attempts last year, I think Matt Ryan's a great pick, by the way, and Matt Ryan had the most passing attempts in the league last year, tied with one other young man who I don't know his number, but I believe it's down there. That's Jared Goff. I think the Rams are going to have to throw the football a ton. They're going to have to throw the ball a ton. And he was right up there. Now, last year's passing leader was who? Jameis Winston. Now, if you had asked anyone before the season last year who the league passing leader was going to be in yardage and touchdowns and interceptions, you might have got the interceptions one right. You weren't going to guess Jameis Winston, but it was Jameis Winston. And then right below him was Dak Prescott, who I think is another great call. Mike McCarthy, for as bad of a coach as I believe him to be, did run 3 wide receiver sets 76% of the time in his last season in Green Bay. So he's going to run a ton of 3 wide sets. You've got Cooper, you've got Gallup, you've got CeeDee Lamb, the rookie. Zeke Elliott has proven to be a very good receiving back, which he really wasn't coming out of college. But now, you see him as a very capable, pass receiving running back. So I think guys like Dak Prescott and Jared Goff are great picks. And if I had to take a deep sleeper, and maybe you could tell me, do you have the numbers up on your screen?
For what?
For passing yardage winner, the prop bets. Do you have it up or?
I don't. I don't actually have it. No, I just have my ones written. We're looking for the actual yardage?
Yeah, well, yardage, right? I guess that's what we're going. Passing yardage. I'm going to guess this guy is way down the list. And so I'm just going to throw out a deep dart throw. If you want to throw $10 on something that could turn into maybe $1,000, a guy like Gardner Minshew is really interesting to me this year. The Jacksonville Jaguars do not have a running back worth a damn on that roster. It's Raquel Armstead, who I believe is going to be injured for a few weeks. Then it's Chris Thompson, Devine Azigbo. But what they do have are a plethora of wide receivers. DJ Chark, Keelan Cole, Dede Westbrook, the young kid they drafted.
60-1. So you're getting 60-1 if he leads the league right there. There you go.
Okay, that feels a lot like Jameis Winston last year. This is a bad defense. They're going to play from behind the entire time. They're going to throw the ball 50 times a game. If Gardner Minshew, there's no I think they signed Chad Henne today off of Chad Henne stayed with Mike Glennon is who it was. Mike Glennon off the waiver wire to be their backup quarterback. So if Gardner Minshew stays healthy, I'm telling you, now listen, you should not go out there and put your life savings on these long shot prop bets. That's silly to do.
Then you can't be a millionaire, Kyle. So you should
right.
tell
I understand. But I'm telling you, a guy like Gardner Minshew could be really interesting. They're going to throw the ball 50 times a game. This kid is going to throw the ball a ton. So if you want a long shot, I'll say Gardner Minshew. How's that?
Yep, there you go. And this is why we call this the predictions that are sure to go wrong. So as we watch this,
go way wrong.
Kyle is going way wrong on this one. And this is what it's exactly for, because for one scintilla, if that hits, Kyle can just pump that out wherever he goes. Look, you know how much of an NFL guy I am? Gardner Minshew 60-1 right there, and then you just drop the mic right on the table. Yeah. So I mean, this is what this section is for. Now let's flip it over to the leading rusher, which isn't very in vogue here, because if you lead the league in rushing, it's not pretty, it's not sexy. It means your wide receiver's not getting 130 catches, you're not spreading the ball around. But to me, I'm going chalk. But the good part about going chalk here, it's not like you take a guy that's like, hey, this guy's going to lead the league in rushing. He's minus 200. I'm going with King Henry plus 750 because it just makes sense. He's not going to be catching 10 screen passes a game. You know exactly what he's out there for in that conference. Yeah. You would be looking at him and say, look, I need 80-plus yards on the ground every day for King Henry in order for me to win this football game. So I'm going heavy chalk. Right. It was close on taking a look at like a Zeke Elliott, but there's so many weapons that surround Zeke Elliott where it's like, hey, if he gets dinged up a little bit or you're just looking to throw the ball game, because you bring up a good point. Dak Dak Prescott in that offense made me more money last year than any team in the NFL. I think Zeke's going to have a very good year, yes. But when I look at a team that's built, hey, we're physical. Mike Vrabel's the head coach. We want to establish the running game. Just look what they did in the playoffs. They're going to get, and he got paid. It's not like, hey, coach, I'm only making $6 million this year. I don't have a contract. You better not give me that ball more than 10 times so I can get my contract next year. They said, hey, Derek, here's all the money in the world. You earned it. Now we're going to use you, and I'm going to take that plus 750 and say King Henry leads the NFL in rushing. How about you, Kyle?
Yeah, that was going to be my first pick. And if you just look at the gap
stole it again.
last year, I love it. You know, when you're getting a plus number, like a plus 750 is just it's a beautiful number for a guy that won the rushing title by over 400 yards last year. I think Nick Chubb was second. And you know, I get if you're trying, it just doesn't make any sense not to go Derrick Henry. It's not like even last year they had sort of a dynamic-ish pass-catching backup running back in Dion Lewis. He's not even there anymore, so it's Jeremy McNichols, if I remember correctly, who was sort of a preseason darling. Yeah, preseason darling last year. Derrick Henry is going to probably lead the league in carries if he stays healthy. Even if you look at all the other run-heavy offenses, Minnesota, they have two viable running backs. Alexander Mattison will spell Dalvin Cook inside the 20-yard line more than you want him to, especially as a fantasy owner. It's going to piss you off. A guy like Zeke Elliott, they're going to throw the ball a ton. Like Prescott threw for 5,200 yards last year. They're going to throw the ball a ton, especially in a Mike McCarthy offense. Christian McCaffrey, he might beat Derrick Henry in scrimmage yards. He most certainly will if he stays healthy. But they also throw to him a lot. That Carolina team's going to throw a lot. The strength of that team is the offense and the wide receivers. You know, you brought them up. You know, it's going to be Robbie Anderson and Samuel and DJ Moore and all of that. And McCaffrey is a terrific receiving running back. And if you remember, there's going to be some regression for Christian McCaffrey. He had something like, in terms of running back touches last year, he played like 94% of the snaps, and he touched the ball 98.9% of running back touches, I want to say, last year was Christian McCaffrey. He was sort of battling a sore knee at the end of the year and kept playing through it. So there is some worry there. He's done it the last 2 years. He's been very consistently involved, but he's going to be in the passing and running game, and they don't have a great defense, so they're going to have to throw the ball more. Tennessee has a nice defense in a division that's susceptible to the run. One guy, if I'm taking like a sleeper type guy who's going to be a downhill runner, a 2-down back, and if he improves a little bit in the passing game, could be a 3-down back. A guy like Josh Jacobs for the Raiders, I think, is
14-1. Yep,
14-1. I think that's a nice long shot. Again, all the teams in the division, they have good secondaries, with maybe the exception of the Broncos, who have a good secondary and run defense, but they're a little susceptible to the run because they're so aggressive with their pass rush. I mean, even Denver is sort of guilty of that, but not to the extent that the Chiefs give up 5 yards a carry. So Josh Jacobs, if he can stay healthy, is a downhill runner, sort of Derrick Henry-esque, not without the size. I guess he could be someone you would lean to. I'd like to go to a guy like Dalvin Cook because it's a run-heavy offense in Minnesota, but I think Madison is too involved. It feels pretty safe picking Derrick Henry, and you're getting a plus number, so it's hard to go against that.
How about this one? Top 15. There's 15 running backs, or I should say 15 running backs, 14 running backs, and one quarterback. How about Lamar Jackson? 24. Like, he's in the top 15 in running backs. He's ahead of Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler, Todd Gurley, James Conner, David Johnson, Jonathan Taylor, and Melvin Gordon, along with Le'Veon. He's ahead of Le'Veon Bell for rushing yards. Tells you how sensational an athlete he is. But there are some come-ups here, like Dalvin Cook, 1,400. Is the hamstring going to stay tight? Because we know he could be a game breaker. Miles Sanders going to get a lot of burn in Philadelphia. He's 20-1. Alvin Kamara is 22-1. You say, oh boy, that's a great value. But he's good in spurts. He's not going to be. Right. Hey, we're going to give out Kamara 25 touches in the running game. That's just not going to take place. Latavius Murray is going to handle a lot of that stuff. But there's a lot of, and again, somebody popped up in the chat box saying, 750-1, you get a lot of good long shots here. Why? Because they're running backs. One shot, and he's out for the year. You miss 3 games, you ain't winning the rushing title. And that's very hard to do. And why you get a good price as opposed to, hey, Derrick Henry's minus 110 to win the rushing title. Nobody would get any bets on that. Let's keep it moving here. Predictions sure to go wrong. Let's take a look at the wide receiver end of it here. And you saw what I said, leading the passing game in the NFL, taking Matt Ryan at plus 800 to win that. Now, if I think he is going to win that, Kyle, we talk about betting and correlating our bets, because if a wide receiver needs to lead Matt Ryan to victory, I'm going to say this is the year that we get the biogenics out, the cryogenics out. We put the freeze on the legs. It's one of those years where we're not limping off the field after 6 plays into an NFL game. I'm going to take a shot here. I'm going Julio Jones plus 900 to lead the NFL in receiving. Can I help him stay healthy? Because if he's healthy, he's got a shot. But he doesn't seem like he's ever healthy. He's like the bigger version of T.Y. Hilton out here, dominant. But if my quarterback is leading the league, my wide receiver needs to lead the league. We're going to correlate this. I'm going Julio Jones. Kyle, who do you think is going to lead the NFL in receiving in 2020 this year?
Oh, God. Well, I'm going to be super boring, and I think it's pretty easy. Michael Thomas, the gap is so wide. It only is.
4-1.
And there's jokes for that, but we'll wait till the Monday night show for all those jokes. But Michael Thomas, I mean, it was like a 400-yard gap. I know they brought over Emmanuel Sanders, but the target share that Michael Thomas is going to see as opposed to Julio Jones is night and day. Drew Brees is not messing around. He's dropping back. And you saw even when Teddy Bridgewater came in, even when the backup, like Sean Payton's like, no, you're throwing the ball to Michael Thomas. I mean, he set a new NFL record for receptions last year. This is not stopping anytime soon. Like, getting Emmanuel Sanders is not going to hurt Michael Thomas's targets all that much. Now, when you look at Atlanta, and I actually really like that Matt Ryan call on the passing yards. I think that could be, especially with, no matter what they say, Todd Gurley has had to have his workload monitored in LA the last 2 years. Yeah. Now you're here in Atlanta. That's what's going to happen. Matt Ryan's not going to be like, oh, I just can't wait to hand the ball to an unexplosive Todd Gurley 25 times a game. That's not happening. That's silly. So he's going to throw the ball a ton. Now, the big difference for me is I think Calvin Ridley is really emerging into his own as a viable number one wide receiver. Julio Jones, and Julio Jones, it's just every game. You can't trust him every game.
No, you can't. You can't.
Because, we talked about this in one of our earlier videos when we broke down the NFC South. He leaves the field for chunks of plays. It's, an ankle injury. It's the calf. It's the hamstring. It's the knee. It's the shoulder. He's basically one of those, you watch those commercials on TV and they're like, hey, do you want your life to be better? Take this pill, and side effects include being Julio Jones. That's what it sounds like.
Doug, you're right.
It's just like all these awful things. Like, I don't want that.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
I don't want to hear better, but if it means my knee turns black and like bugs crawl up into my ears, and that's that's basically Julio Jones. Yeah. So Michael Thomas is routinely healthy. He's going to be a big part of that passing game. He plays in a division, and so does Julio Jones for that. Probably the best secondary in that whole division is the New Orleans Saints. All the other teams, the Buccaneers, the Panthers, the Falcons, they're all bad secondaries. They're going to get their leaky secondaries. So I think Michael Thomas is obviously the safest bet. If I had to take a guy, maybe long shot-ish, who could step in and have this massive season just based on target shares alone, I'd say it's Davante Adams if he can stay healthy for the Packers. Yeah. They didn't bring in anybody to help Aaron Rodgers. So it's Alan Lazard and Marquez Valdez-Scantling again. So as long as he can stay healthy, Aaron Rodgers is going to drop back, and it doesn't matter what the coverage is. He's only got one option, and that's Davante Adams or Aaron Jones out of the backfield. That's more the fault of Packers management, but Davante Adams should see a ton of targets. Now, he only played 12 games last year. I think he had like 990 some yards in 12 games, which is not super encouraging, but the opportunity will be there. So that might be someone, if you're trying to be contrarian a bit. I think Julio Jones is a great option being contrarian as well, just like you talked about.
If you take a look too, just to show you about that NFC South, of the top 6 wide receivers that are expected to lead the league, 4 of those come from that same division. Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans. The only 2 mixed in there would obviously be Devontae Adams, who's a sensational wide receiver, and also DeAndre Hopkins going in that offense that's going to be 100 miles an hour out on the West Coast. Now, it's funny you look at Michael Thomas because it seems like he catches everybody by surprise. You didn't really know too much about him when he left New Orleans. When he left Ohio State. He doesn't have the cool, like Julio Jones is a cool name. Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, like cool names. Like, hey, man, that guy's a good wide receiver. And you say Michael Thomas, most people can't pick Michael Thomas out of a lineup if they saw him. Like, I don't really know who that guy is without his helmet or his uniform on and his jersey on. So I love Michael Thomas. We talk fantasy football. I drafted, obviously, nobody cares about anybody's draft anyway. But when you get Michael Thomas, what do you get, like 130 catches with it? Like, you could just bookmark. If he's healthy, 130 catches, like 1,500 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Now, that's going to factor also on what we think of Drew Brees' arm strength and how that continues throughout the season. But it would be interesting to see also if, Jameis Winston gets a shot to throw some flames over at Michael Thomas. Well, he double coverage, triple coverage, quadruple coverage. Jameis Winston, he's going to be like, hey, live the fight another day. I'll throw it up to you. No big deal. But it's some interesting stuff to talk about to start the NFL season. And again, as we like to say, predictions that are sure to go wrong. Now, so we got those out of the way, and we can, Freddie's back there working the turntables. He can erase that video because they said, I watched their first show these two did together. They gave out the worst picks on leading passer, rusher, receiver. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? We never even did a show like that. So that's probably what's going to take place here. Betting approach for the 2020 NFL season. I'm a gambler. It's my livelihood. It's what I do. And usually we can come on here and be like, dude, Kyle, I got such a beat on this season. I can't wait for it to get going. Excitement level, I can't wait. Prediction level for the first week, I can't wait. But correctness on the first week, that's going to be really hard. There's going to be so many things, Kyle, that pop up. Like, I didn't see this coming. This guy looks really bad. What is this team even doing? Why is this one score 51-10, like we saw like basically last year with the Baltimore Ravens coming out and just Hulk smashing the Miami Dolphins on opening day? Couple things to talk about. No fans in the stands for home field advantage. Some of these big we're going to see it on Thursday night right out. Kansas City's going to have a couple thousand people in there, but that's not 75,000 people breaking the decibel level. The 12th man up in your neck of the woods breaking the decibel level. Nobody can hear anything. That's not going to be the case. So we'll see how low that diminishes it. Also, the preseason. There is no preseason. You didn't get to scout any teams. You didn't get to see who was good. You didn't get to see these guys who may be rookies and all of a sudden the lights come on. It's their first NFL game. You like to get that out of the way in Foxborough on August the 2nd where there's 20,000 people in here and you run a couple plays like, ooh, man, that felt good. My uniform fit is straight. I feel ready to go. Now you're just going to be hitting live bullets there once these games kick off. And also the COVID-19 test. Now, just had a tweet come by here. I'm seeing if I can scroll down and maybe grab it.
It's encouraging.
44,510 players tested over the past week and only one positive test. Yes. Thank you for this. So it looks like we should be able to get off and have a regular season. But those things are going to enter it in, Kyle. And I got to say, more about the COVID and the guys aren't being ready. I love to bet home teams because the advantage, obviously, with the travel, but more importantly, the hostile environment really goes against you. You go into another place to play basketball, okay, baseball, okay. But in football, when that clock is running down the play clock, 3, 2, 1, hey, check red 9, and your left tackle's like, bro, I don't even know what you just said. Hike, here we go. That's going to be a problem. That's what I'm worried about. Talk about some of the gambling aspects or what you're looking forward to, and maybe again saying, I'm really not sure what might take place in this. Might take a couple weeks before it gets under wraps for us.
Right. And let me address the comment section. So, Bino and Gianna, when is the week 1 prediction show? Well, we're going to get to some of that today. We're going to be doing that again on Thursday. And Thursday, and that'll be live at, I believe that's 3 o'clock. Pacific time,
3 o'clock Tuesday. Yep. No, it's 3 o'clock Eastern.
3 o'clock Eastern. Thank
Pacific.
you.
Yeah.
On Thursday and Sunday morning, we'll be live an hour before kickoff, so you can check us out over there as well. We'll be answering all that questions. So now you get to the COVID thing, and I think there's a lot of layers to this because typically, I mean, you've been betting on football for a long time. One of the things you're really looking to do is get an edge earlier in the week and get that adjusted line advantage, right? So for those of you wondering what that means, hey, if I can get a game, if I got the Steelers Giants on Tuesday morning at -3.5, and then and I bet the Steelers -3.5, and then by the time it gets to kickoff on Sunday or Monday, it's -6. I've gained myself 2.5 points by betting that game early. And when you do things like that, you're doing things the right way. Now, it doesn't mean your bet's going to pay off, but if you do that over a long stretch of time, you're going to have success because you're taking advantage of the numbers. And numbers and stats are very important when it comes to betting especially the NFL. There's values on every number, 3s and 7s, and now with the 2-point conversions, the 1s and the 8s and the 6s become a little bit more valuable. And these are things maybe we'll have tons of time. God, we got 7 hours Monday. We can maybe dive into some of this stuff on that Monday night show. But now you might be trying to get that adjusted line value the other way, because with these COVID testing, we kind of talked about it, where you want to wait till Sunday morning to make your bets so you have all the information. The big problem with that is by the time Sunday morning comes along, those markets in the NFL are probably the most efficient markets in the betting industry. So now you find yourself where Vegas has really settled in on where they want it to be. So it's harder to get an advantage, and it's harder to get that adjusted line value. So it's something where for week 1, I feel pretty fortunate because of the numbers you just talked about. There's only been 1 positive COVID test. So, I got in on the Steelers -3.5 and the Broncos +3 a few weeks ago. Now, the Broncos-Titans is a pick'em game, and the Steelers are at -6 on some books. So I've gained myself 2.5, 3 points of adjusted line value going into those bets, and I feel good about it. Is that always going to work? I think it's a lot more iffy this year because there's a lot more unknowns. We just don't know who's going to test positive. How long are they going to have to be out for? Are they just going to cancel the whole game entirely if, like baseball has done when one player tests positive? So there's a lot of aspects to go over in this. There's different ways you can go. I think it depends on your risk tolerance as well. If you're going to make a bet earlier in the week, be prepared for this year to be a little bit different where, hey, before, when I'm getting this adjusted line value, it may have worked in my favor. Now it's going against me because a positive test showed up on Friday, and now Pat Mahomes is out, or Drew Brees is out, or Tom Brady is out, and it shakes things up. So it really depends on your risk tolerance, what your bankroll strategy is. There's a lot of things to consider. I do think it can go the other way too. Like, you can have a team who's +7 to start the week, and then the next thing the opponent's Kirk Cousins pulls up with COVID, and next thing you know, now it's at +2 or +1. You're like, oh, I bought myself the 7 points earlier in the week. So it's risk tolerance. There's going to be some different strategies this year because it's the most unique season we've seen since probably 1987.
No, 100% correct. There's a lot going on. It's better to digest, but you can always have fun. Even in the DFS world, we don't know. This is the shot where if you just put in one of those magic bullets, as I like to say, for $20 on DraftKings or FanDuel, you might be able to come out on top because we don't have all the statistical information that we usually need. And as the season goes on, you have 7 or 8 games under your belt, and these large algorithms come in and start taking you down with thousands of tips coming in. This is a fun week, but also don't be surprised that you bet a team like, man, I thought they were going to be really good. They stink. And then, as you know, if anybody's ever played sports or specifically football, teams improve between weeks 1 and 2 more than any other week of the season. So you'll see those buybacks. And what I love about week 2 is they say, man, Atlanta lost. They stink, man. They're going to be horrible this year. And then, but wait a second, they won week 2. That's where you're going to see which teams are really good, which teams are really bad, who's going to be able to hold on. A lot of eyes get played with over week 1 because you're going to make decisions saying the Eagles just lost to the Washington Redskins. They're going to win 3 games this year. Not the case. Give it a couple weeks to let some of that stuff sink in. But let's have some fun here. Last 20 minutes of the show, this is what we do. And again, it's the first show, so we get a lot of stuff off our chest here that we just want to have for a season-long overall look as the year goes on. Obviously, we're going to pop right in here on Tuesdays and start firing away. Like, can you believe what happened on Sunday? This is what I think about the games coming up. So let's just give a brief look because, again, when you set up the shows here, this is the look that says, what's your best bet this weekend, Donnie, on Tuesday? Well, we're not going to have that because we need to see practice reports. We need to see everything coming in. Now, also, we're going to go over each and every game as well on Sundays on our closing line show. But the problem we ran into over the years is you're giving out your plays on Sundays, and sometimes you don't give them out till 12:55, and people can't get in time for the 1 o'clock game. Right. We're going to try to settle that on Thursdays and say, you know what, here's my best bet of the week. And then obviously still cap the games and give our sides and our leans, but we'll try to easier, so you have a couple days to get ready for it, as opposed to, Donnie, it's 12:59. I got to kick off with the Jets. By the way, my best bet is the Miami Dolphins, and it just kicked off right now, so try to take it in-game live. We're going to smooth all these parts out, but the week starts on Thursday Night Football. It's going to be fun just to watch. The atmosphere is going to be different. They're supposed to be getting rings and a big, trophy presentation with 70,000 screaming fans, and Houston probably wouldn't be able to hear a thing all night. That's not going to be the case. And I got to tell you, when I start looking at games, you see 9.5s, you see 10s, you see a 54. Can they cover it? Sure they can. We watched them blow the doors off this same football team just a couple months ago on their way to winning a Super Bowl. But it's a different year coming in, a different structure. Are we fat and happy for the Kansas City Chiefs now that everybody got paid? We also saw Deshaun Watson get the second biggest contract in NFL history for a quarterback, right behind the guy who's playing against, Patrick Mahomes. Just early thoughts on this game. I can't take the under just because the the Kansas City Chiefs, they don't play to an under. You see last year, they're getting held under wraps with the 49ers in the Super Bowl. Hey, defense. And then in the fourth quarter, I'm like this. Oh my God, this is like a track meet up and down the field, just scoring points left and right. It doesn't meet my eyes for an under. I like the over in this game, but look, it's the NFL. I'm not taking anybody 10 points. I don't care. I'm not doing it.
And the line has moved. You remember it started -11. And then it was kind of interesting to watch. If you're betting, maybe you're new to this. This is something to keep an eye on. And it's one great thing that they do over at sportsbookreview.com. They don't just break down each different book's odds. They also show you where the money is being placed. And I think that's a really interesting thing to watch. So when you look at the Houston-Kansas City game, it opened at +11 Houston, -11 Kansas City. And all the money was actually coming in on Houston. It was like 56-44, 54-46, somewhere in that range. Then the line's now moved to 9.5, 9 on some books, and then the money went towards Kansas City. It jumped to 59-41. Now that you're seeing more books jump up that half point to 9.5, it's Houston's gained a couple of points. I like Kansas City if you're taking the points under double digits. I think they can win this game by 10. The team totals, you're absolutely right. And this comes back to the numbers. So you have the totals 54.5 on most books right now. So you have to ask yourself, if I think this game is going to be scored in the 50s, and the NFL plays through 3s and 7s, that's typically, a touchdown, extra point, and the field goals. Do you feel good? If it was 53, would you go the under? I give myself a line before I start any of these. So once that game, I could see this game being 37-20, or even 30-27. I like that 7 number. I like the high end for any Kansas City game and a Houston game. Houston doesn't have a great offense. So a 57 total is somewhere where I was comfortable voting. I was comfortable putting money at 57. I would either push or go over. So when I see 54.5, and this is not me trying to guess the books, this is just me making a number that I'm comfortable at. So I like the over, and typically in week 1, I'll take the unders because defenses are usually more prepared to start the season. The offenses have barely played in the preseason. This feels a little bit different to me. The Kansas City Chiefs secondary is without Bashaud Breeland for the first 4 weeks, so they're going to be a little bit weaker. The defenses have not been able to tee off in preseason games. It's been limited pad practicing, so I'm not sure the defenses have that same early year advantage that they've had in years past. So I'm inclined to take the over, and I'm inclined to take the Chiefs.
No, I certainly hear you on that stuff. Because it just fit my eyes when I say that. 34-21 feels like the right type of mood, which gives you 55 points. I don't see 21-17. I see both of these teams in the 20s, which should give me a good push. And again, we're not talking about football in November and December. 33 degrees, 16-mile-an-hour winds. You're going to get warm conditions out here. We'll see how it takes place there. Let's rip through some of these games on Sunday. And again, we are going to really pound this card on Thursday and go game by game. But today, we're just going to get a quick look of what we think that early line. You say, Kyle, where it's like you see the line for the first game, that doesn't look right, or, I like this side. Miami versus the New England Patriots here, -6.5 with a total. How about this? A total. We go for 54-43 in this one. Maybe some rain in the forecast up in Foxborough. Cam Newton's coming out party. Pretty usually I would see New England under a touchdown favorite at home in Foxborough and just be like, man, I am hammering Tom Brady and the boys.
Yeah.
I know Cam Newton, we want to play that like he's going to be fired up. He can't wait to play. I'm going to take those. Look, maybe if it gets to 7, I don't know, but I'm going to sit on the 6.5. I'm going to take the points here in this spot early in the week.
Me too. And it's like you read my mind. There's a lot of hype, especially in the DFS world, hype over Cam Newton. And I just don't get it. I watched him throw. I watched him throw his last 2 years. I know they said he was sort of hurt. The accuracy and the timing isn't there. He's certainly going to be a red zone presence. If this game was in Miami, I'd feel even better about it. You'd probably see a different line. But I think the Dolphins are an interesting, of all the plus teams, of all the underdogs, I think the Dolphins are one of the more interesting picks this week. I think they could surprise some people, and we just don't know what that Patriots offense is going to look like.
No, you're right. James Hines in the chat box. Houston D is mostly new in the backfield. They haven't had enough time to use to get ready for the defense. And also Sabino says, I believe the line for the Titans versus Denver will be more heavily. I don't know what it should be heavily, I guess. No way it is a pick 'em by game time. Yeah, we'll see what happens. That's a great game because, again, keep in mind, me and Kyle are going to be live. Doubleheader style, baby, for that Pittsburgh game and for the Tennessee game. So we're going to have some fun. A really good game here. Cleveland versus Baltimore. We're sitting at -8 right now, the total of 48.5. The total for a divisional game for me seems a little bit high at that 49 range, but obviously you're talking about a Baltimore offense that they can do whatever they want. And if you're looking for a revamped offense and some talent on Cleveland's end of it, they have it this year. So, quick look, I don't know how I'm going to weigh in on that total. But again, week 1, I'm leaning on getting 8 points with Cleveland here. I think they finally have a head coach. Maybe Baker Mayfield settles down. Yeah. It's hard to go against Baltimore because we know what they can do. But an interdivision game, there's a lot of talent on Cleveland. I'm going to take the touchdown plus in this one, Kyle.
Yep. And basically any time I see a +8, for me, that's an efficient way to say I will take the points because I'm trying to play through those values of the 3s and the 7s. Now, Cleveland has a ton of talent. You expect a little bit of regression out of Baltimore. They were very efficient in the passing game last year. Of course, Lamar Jackson is going to be awesome in the run game. They bring in J.K. Dobbins. They have Mark Ingram. They have Gus Edwards. It's going to slow that pace down. I do like some big plays early on, but I think, a 28-10, a 28-17 score makes could make a lot of sense. But I can also see, a 24-17 sort of greasy kind of game where Baker makes a mistake at the end of the field. I love +8s. Anytime I see a +8, if I can find a reasonable expectation to make that bet, I'm there to make it because I'm basically saying, okay, do I think they're going to win by 11? Then you have to go that way. And again, we'll have a bunch of time on Monday Night Football. We can talk about all these weird numbers theories, and there's a ton of them. And I'm kind of a stats nerd when it comes to those things. But I actually am starting to lean towards Cleveland at that +8 number. I certainly think Baltimore is going to win. If you want to bet Baltimore, I'd take the money line. But I think the number's starting to get a little. Yeah. I mean, it was +10 before, so you wish you would have taken that bet, a few weeks ago, but we just didn't know.
Walla Walla says, I want to bet first halves in week 1, but I feel like I'm asking for trouble. It's tough. I love halves. I love taking first halves because I think it's the truest form of football where both teams continuous will be trying to score, whereas you take it to the full game, you get caught up with the favorite, throw up 14 points with 6 minutes to go. Let's just run the clock. There's no way the other team can come back and beat us, but the other team can come back and cover the spread. So it is going to be interesting to see over these first couple weeks. The Jets and the Buffalo Bills, -6.5, a total of 39.5. I like Buffalo in this division to win it. And if I'm going to look at this football game, I think Buffalo needs to come out and make a statement. It would be nice if the Bills Mafia was in the stands, but they are not going to be there. So more of a scrimmage-like, so to speak, atmosphere. Yeah. But I think the Buffalo Bills are the better football team in this game. There's no reason to believe that they can't pull one of those out 24-17, which would give you the cover. If I think the Buffalo Bills are going to win this football game, I don't think they're going to squeak it out. I think they're going to win by a touchdown possibly or more. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills in this game.
100% agree. It's a low total. What is it, 39? Is that right?
39.5, yeah.
39.5.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I could see a 30-10. I could see taking Buffalo and the over.
Let's go.
I actually think Buffalo beats the brakes off the Jets. I think the Jets are going to be one of the worst teams in the league last year. Losing Jamal Adams was dreadful. The Lego policeman, Sam Darnold, is nothing special to me. They lost their biggest downfield threat in Robbie Anderson. They bring in Rashad Perriman. Cool, that's neat. Jamison Crowder, Le'Veon Bell doesn't look the same. I think Buffalo by over, six and a half, minus 6.5 feels pretty easy to me. I might have jinxed them. The question for me is the totals. I might stay away from it, but it won't surprise me if Buffalo puts up 30 plus points in this game.
That would be interesting, yeah, because you're going to get that first look at Diggs, and you're talking about Jamal Adams going from the secondary middle linebacker opts out. So you're talking about major playmakers that just aren't going to be on the field, specifically on the defensive side. We'll see how it plays out. Vegas and Carolina, it's interesting because Vegas is going to get the push here. -3. Las Vegas going on the road to play Carolina with a total of 47.5. One of those where, look, I know Vegas is talented. They have John Gruden. There's a new head coach in Carolina, Teddy Bridgewater, but I'm not really interested in them coming east and being a favorite on the road. I'm going to lean towards Carolina +3 in this game here, Kyle.
Yep, that's where I lean. And this game's mostly a pass because I think these are two young teams and a lot of transition. So I'm not putting a lot of money, if any, on this game. But if I had the proverbial gun to my head right now, I'd take Carolina in the points. This opened as a pick'em, and now all of a sudden it's favoring the Raiders. I'm not exactly sure why. I haven't seen anything that makes me think the Raiders are somehow going to be better. In fact, they've been getting rid of some veterans who I thought were going to contribute to that defense. I like Teddy Bridgewater way more than I like Derek Carr. I like Christian McCaffrey, even though I like Josh Jacobs, Christian McCaffrey, all world. And you look at the receiving core for the Panthers, much better and more experienced than that of the Raiders. So I'll take Carolina. That one's starting to get easier for me. That might be part of one of my 17 parlay burning money plays on opening day. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I like Carolina. I'll take the point.
Seattle, Atlanta, cheap line here. Atlanta at home is a +1 a dog, and we see the total at 49. Now, look, if I think Julio Jones is going to lead the league in yards as well as Matt Ryan, 49 seems like the right number for me because the one thing you need out of Seattle and just betting on them over the years is if you ask them to match tempo and run with them, Seattle can turn it on and do that. But if you're going to get into a slug out, Seattle will say, good, we're more than happy to run it 40 times with our 97 running backs and Russell Wilson. So I do think that ball will be in the air. It's going to be in a dome. Obviously a good atmosphere for scoring. I like the over in this football game. I don't have a great feel in this because Seattle's coming east. There's just one team that doesn't seem to be affected by coming east all that much and playing at 1 o'clock, and it's Russell Wilson. I think their team overall is better than Atlanta, but then again, Atlanta is the home team. I actually like the total more than I do like the game here, Kyle.
Yeah, I was right there with you. I think this game probably of all the games has the best chance to shoot out.
Yeah.
2 weak secondaries, 2 good quarterbacks, 2 good receiving cores, tight ends, everything else. So I think this game shoots out. I think it goes over 50. Again, it's at 49. So I would be comfortable with it at 53. I like the total. It's basically a pick'em game. You're seeing some money coming in. Seattle -2.5. I'll take the totals.
Hey, Kyle, you ready for a speed burst? You ready to go through some speed burst?
Let's do it.
Philadelphia and Washington. Washington getting 6 points at home. The Redskins, the football team, whatever you want to call it, an over-under of 43.5. The Philadelphia Eagles are banged up and injured. I'm still going to say I like the Eagles, but I think it's going to be a little bit closer than comfort. But I have to say, the 43.5 is enticing me because Darius Slay's nice, add in on the back end, should be able to slow down McLaren. But I do think we get some points in this game because I think the Eagles offense will be able to operate. I like over 44. I do think the Eagles will win this football game. I'm not willing to go 6, even though I'm not a huge Haskins guy. I like the over better than the side here, Kyle. How about you?
Oh, I've been taking the Eagles -6 since Father's Day, and I will continue on that route. I think the Washington football team is terrible. They just have nothing that excites me. I am not a believer in Dwayne Haskins. It won't shock me to see 2 deep touchdowns to Deshaun Jackson, 35-10 Philadelphia. They get the over because they beat the crap out of Washington so much, and they cover the points. There's my bold prediction early on. I love the Eagles over Washington.
How about this divisional matchup here? Chicago and Detroit. Now we saw, if you were going to give me, Kyle, Nick Foles as the starting quarterback, I would look at this game and be like, hey, I'm going to take the Bears getting 3 points on the road. I think they can stick around and hang. Mitchell Trubisky is the quarterback. Mitchell Trubisky cannot play. Therefore, we take the Detroit Lions -3 in this football game. The total is 44. The Bears have a good defense. The Bears have Mitchell Trubisky. It's like, to me, when I watch, used to be last year watching the Minnesota Twins in baseball, when Buxton was in center field, he hit 100, but he took away 9 home runs in the field every game. So he's the ultimate under. Mitchell Trubisky is the ultimate under, and I'm going to sit on the under in this game, 44, but I'm going to take Detroit -3 here.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think I'm going to go the other way, and I'm just going to go. Now, I don't like to put everything on trends, but the last 3 games that Mitchell Trubisky has started against the Detroit Lions, he's thrown for over 289 yards and 3 touchdowns in each of those 3 games. So I think that's very interesting. The Detroit Lions have a terrible secondary. They were dead last in the league last year, just above Tampa Bay. They replaced Darius Slay with Desmond Trufant. I think Mitch Trubisky's a very sneaky fantasy play, DFS play, for value, and I think Chicago could sneak in here and beat Detroit. Mitch Trubisky plays well against this bad Lions secondary. There's another bold prediction for you.
I might have to fly. I might have to fly out to Oregon and watch this game with you side by side, so I can just hate on Mitch as I sit next to you there. But Green Bay, Indianapolis and Jacksonville. How about this one? Jacksonville getting 7.5 in this game, a total of 45. Everybody's expecting disaster from Jacksonville, but this has one of those feels of a game. To me, it's opening day, and everybody thinks they can win the Super Bowl, make the playoffs, and all feelings are good.
Yes.
And then I see that total there of around 45. I think Indianapolis is going to be able to score, and if you're right on Gardner Minshew throwing the ball around and they're losing, that usually means good things. Why? Interceptions, sacks, turnovers, and touchdowns. Give me the over 45 in that game.
Yep, totally agree. I love it. I think it's a sneaky over 45. I don't think you'll see a ton of money on that. I'm not sure where the numbers are going right now, but it'd be surprising if it did. But I actually like this game. I like Jacksonville to hang around a little bit. They were going to be one of my, bad teams who look better than they're supposed to look. They're going to throw, 21-6 was the touchdown to interception ratio last year for Gardner Minshew. Phillip Rivers, you never know what that's going to look like. You start getting into that 8 number. I have a number for every team that I'm willing to bet on them at, every single team on either side. And you should when you're betting. I like the over here. I'll probably lay off the spread. It's just too many unknowns. I want to see what Rivers looks like, but I like the over.
All right, Green Bay, Minnesota, -2.5, total of 46 in this football game. Kirk Cousins hopes to be a good year. Obviously, we know what we get out of Aaron Rodgers. -2.5 seems like a cheap number. I'm a little bit higher on Minnesota. I'm going to go Minnesota here, -2.5.
-2.5. I think that's interesting. I am going anytime I can get the better quarterback and I can get some points, I'm going to take it. So I'll take Aaron Rodgers. I think he's got a lot to prove. He's offended by the Jordan Love draft pick. Give me some Green Bay right now before really digging into the game. I'll take some Green Bay at that +3 number I can find over at Bookmaker. I like that.
I like this matching up, too. You got a rookie at home going to make his first start. Cincinnati and Los Angeles, total of 44. I have it listed as -3, but I'm hard-pressed to believe that Cincinnati is -3, so I think I just typed that in wrong as a +3. I think Los Angeles, the Chargers, get the cover in this game. Not so sure if it goes over because of Tyrod Taylor and a rookie quarterback. 44 is a low number in the NFL, but I think the Los Angeles Chargers handle the business in this one.
Yeah, me too, and I'm actually really surprised that number hasn't moved much, right? It just feels like that pass rush, rookie quarterback making his first start, the defense and overhaul. The Chargers are going to be able to move the ball up and down the field. I think they can shut down Joe Burrow and frustrate him with that pass rush with Bosa and Ingram. I like the Chargers -3. I think that's one of my easier parlay picks this week.
Arizona, San Francisco sitting at a -7. We know how good that defense is, but the one thing that's interesting about this, San Francisco still should be able to put up points on Arizona. I think Arizona now adding another weapon at wide receiver. They run fast, so again, you're talking about big plays, big turnovers, big sacks, and an offense that runs at a pretty good clip. If I could get that number down to 46.5, I would like it a little bit better, obviously, than 47. I think the game goes over, but I think the number is about right to start the season because, again, it's opening week. You're going to have new wrinkles out there. I love San Francisco and what they bring to the table. A little bit banged up. Should they win the football game? Absolutely. Number's a little bit high for me, but I think that number goes over for the total.
Yeah, I like the over, and I actually like I wish I would have put money at Arizona +9 when that opened. Now it's, to +7. No matter how bad Arizona is or San Francisco and how good the other team is, these teams always play close. Sort of kind of like that Miami, New England when they go down to New England type thing. The Cardinals, just even when Blaine Gabbert will start for Arizona or the 49ers, the games somehow are close. I think this is a close game. I think the 49ers win. I like the over. I don't think the Arizona defense is very good. I think the Niners defense regresses a little bit this year. Kyler Murray played good against them last year. I like the over, and I'll take the Cardinals to cover the points.
Tampa Bay, New Orleans. We see New Orleans falter a couple times here in week one, sort of those shocking losses that they had. The over-under sits at 49.5 as opposed to, and I do lean on Tampa Bay getting the 3.5. I think it's going to be a close game, even though I do think New Orleans is the better football team, but over 49.5. I just feel like these two guys are going to just try to dime it up. Tom Brady's looking to make a big impression. He's got a ton of weapons he did not have last year, and the New Orleans Saints are one of the best play callers in the game with their head football coach. And I just think Sean Payton's going to dial up something fierce. This game gets in the 50s. I like the over in this one.
Yep, like the over, and I think the Saints actually cover. It's moved from 4.5 to 3.5, so you're getting a little bit of that line value. They're at home. No, it's not the same home atmosphere, but they're going to be pumping crowd noise in. Drew Brees, Michael Thomas at home against a team that's just had some offseason workouts on some high school fields together. Still a terrible secondary. I like the Saints at home. I like the over. I think this is obviously the game everyone's waiting to watch, right? Week one. Can't wait for it. Over. I'll take the Saints right now as I sit -3.5.
All right, 3 games we'll do quickly here. Dallas and Los Angeles. This is the Rams +3 out in their new playground. Total of 51.5. Normally, I would look to this and be like, hey, man, I'm going to get Dallas as a cheap favorite on the road here. But I got an idea. Again, it's the first game out there. It's going to be no fans. Obviously, that should play to Dallas's strengths. But, again, it's opening day. I think Los Angeles is going to have some pretty good things dialed up. You got Aaron Donald in the front end. There's still some talent on that football team, both offensively and defensively. I'm going to take the home team getting the 3 in this one up against the Cowboys, but I do think we get some points. So I think that 51.5 is definitely going to be in play. I think it goes over that total. I actually like the total a little bit better than the side itself here.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. But for me, for some reason, these feel like slow starting. These are teams that get a ton of yards, but they're inefficient in the red zone, even though, they have Zeke Elliott and everything else. Lots of field goals. I like the revenge narrative for Legatron to L.A. against his former team. I mean, it's the only kicker story you really want to pay attention to besides that one kid who was drafted and yada yada. I feel like these offenses are so pass heavy and there's some new pieces moving around. This could be a sneaky under to take. I'm definitely not betting the game. I think these are 2 pretty equal teams in terms of talent. You probably give the edge to Dallas, of course, with Zeke over in the running back situation. This is probably the game that's the hardest for me right now to figure out what's going to happen. So I'm just going to lean with my week one instincts and go the under and assume the offenses struggle in third down and red zone opportunities. You're not crazy for going the over, obviously. I mean, these are 2 great offenses. But I'm going to take the sneaky under and the Rams at home. It wouldn't shock me if the Rams cover those points at home. I think you're right about that.
2 Monday Night Football games. Keep in mind that Dallas-Los Angeles game will be a Sunday Night Football game. These next 2 Monday Nighters, I'm going to double header these bad boys. And I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers, New York Football Giants, under 47.5 on opening day. I love the Pittsburgh defense. Big Ben will work his way in. I don't know if the Giants are going to be able to go up and down the field. Daniel Jones should be able to have a decent football game, but I just think it plays to an under, specifically in the high 40s. And then the second game, Tennessee and Denver, which is a fantastic football game. Total is a 41. I'm going to go Denver with the young buck pulling the upset at home in the thin air. Even though I don't want to do that, I know Tennessee's a great regular season team, but just looks like a cheap number out there. I think Denver takes the next step. And as I said, I will take the under in the Pittsburgh Giants game. How about that doubleheader to wrap it up here for you, Kyle?
Excited for this, and I was excited when I saw these were my 2 favorite picks 2 months ago. I loved Pittsburgh at -3.5, and I loved Tennessee at +3. And this is where that line adjustment value comes in. Now it's -6, -5.5 Pittsburgh, and basically a pick 'em between Tennessee. So you could have gotten value before. Again, we didn't know it was going to happen. I still like Pittsburgh. I think the Giants are terrible. I think this is another one of those games that could sort of be like a 31-17 type game. So I'll take the over there. I like Tennessee over Denver. It wouldn't shock me. Now, Denver's 28-6 their last 34, 35 games at home. Their home openers in Denver. The September Denver advantage is certainly there because of the elevation. But I'm going to stick with my guns from weeks ago. I'm going to take Tennessee and the pick'em, and I will begrudge. I'm going to take Pittsburgh -6, but I think the under is probably right. It's right on the line. It's right on the line. It's getting about right. It's right there.
We'll see what Joe Judge brings to the table and what sort of maybe he runs through a brick wall before the game. Maybe even runs on the kickoff team to start the game, as if you've been seeing any of the
he
making
makes
the
his
coaches
grandpa
run.
do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with Joe Judge coming out. But that'll wrap up our Tuesday opening line show. And I got to tell you, Thursday, it all goes down and it opens up. We go live again on Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to do a nice, heavy pre-game setup for the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans for that ball game. But also, we are going to really get into in-depth analysis of this full card going all the way through. Maybe we'll skip the Monday Night Football game since we have a Monday Night Football show. We can hit that. But also, we'll give out some best bets on Thursday. But also keep in mind, on Sunday, we'll be there for the pregame show, which is the closing lines, carrying you right up to kickoff, going over the games one last time, and including the chat box, giving out some more best bets and winners on Sunday. But a lot of good stuff in store. Kyle, I'm excited. Look at that. One hour down. We could have went 4 hours going over these games. But it is what it is. But again, we will have multiple shows during the week. A lot of fun here. If you haven't done so yet, check out sbrpicks.com/NFL. Get into the Pick Six contest. Subscribe, hit the notification buttons. So many good things going on sportsbookreview.com throughout football season. And it started today. Thursday, we get into some real-time action, and we are going to have a lot of fun on the channels throughout the entire NFL football season. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance. We are sportsbookreview.com, and of course, this is your NFL show. Good luck, guys.